Hello, and welcome to the Don't You Know I'm Loco podcast. We are three cousins looking to break generational curses by sharing our mental health and healing journeys. Join me, Candy,
Lisa,
and
Renee,
as we talk about the things we're not supposed to talk about. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Welcome back to another episode.
Mhm.
For those of you that are listening and not watching, we have another guest on today. We have our cousin Peter. Welcome, Peter.
Welcome
Hello,
to the
hello.
show.
Peter is our cousin from, surprise, surprise, our mom's side of the family. Peter is our Uncle Pete's youngest son. And he's part of the first set of siblings that we've collected on the podcast.
And he's the youngest cousin, right?
Yeah, he's the youngest cousin. Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I can do a little bit of an introduction to myself.
Go ahead. Take it away, Peter.
Yeah, to you viewers, hello. I am Peter. I'm 32 years old. Like they mentioned, I'm the baby cousin of all of the first cousins, youngest of 39, and that's just the first cousins. Like they mentioned as well, both of my brothers have already been on the podcast.
Mhm.
They saved the best for last, though. I've been with a beautiful woman named Camilla for 12 years. We're child-free, meaning I don't want to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same here.
I don't have kids, and I'll never have kids. And
Team
lastly,
kids.
no kids gang, yes. Plenty of cats, though. I want more. The last thing I'll mention about myself is that I am non-binary, which means that I don't align with man or woman as my gender identity, and you can use any pronouns that you like to refer to me.
Ah, all right.
Okay.
Nice.
Very cool.
It
That was a great introduction, Peter.
was.
Sat in the mirror for a couple of minutes doing it. No, not really. I just did it off the cuff. honestly.
But it was great.
I feel like I've been trying to get Peter on here for the longest time.
Oh, I actually got something to say about that once we get to the challenges. So.
Okay. So today our topic is machismo, which is I would say toxic masculinity
Yes.
would be the translation of it.
Exactly.
So first we're gonna get into our challenges. Who wants to go
Let's
first?
go with our guest.
Okay. Would you like to go first,
All right.
Peter? Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, I don't mind going first.
Okay.
All right.
My challenge is actually the anxiety that I dealt with doing this podcast.
Oh.
Like, my anxiety told me I'm not ready. I'm unprepared.
Mhm.
People don't want to hear what I have to say. I woke up and actually the first thought, I've been a little stressed with work, and still the first thought in my head was I should cancel.
Oh.
You know, I'm not sure. I mean, you go to family parties, I'm sure, and you might notice that I'm not there, a fair amount of times. And that's all part of my anxiety telling me I can't go. I don't want to be there.
Mhm.
Sort of a common theme with me. And the thing about anxiety is it's not always a constant fight. Sometimes I feel spectacular, confident, way better than other people. And there's obviously some things in life that I feel that I'll never shy away from. Anything having to do with singing, you'll catch me up there on the stage,
Mhm.
But sometimes my brain just doesn't want to do anything.
Mhm.
And so I'm happy that I broke through that barrier, didn't cancel, and showed up to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're with
I know.
us
It's so
here.
nice to have you on here, Peter. And we know exactly how that feels because it took us a lot of practice and a lot
Yes.
to actually get started on a podcast because I am an introvert. I have anxiety as well. And this kind of stuff is not like public speaking.
I hate public speaking.
Public speaking is not my thing. But this feels different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
Can I ask how did you get past it? Like the anxiety to get on here?
It's just all part of having spent a lot of time thinking about how I want to grow. Sometimes you just got to be able to push through the bad feelings. The bad feelings are just those
Mhm.
feelings. And I believe that we should listen to our feelings,
Mhm.
but there's just a point when you have to get past all of that,
Yeah.
as you grow up, maybe it's a little harsh, but are you really adult if you can't just push through the things that are going to help you be a better person?
True. You grow in uncomfortableness.
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Growth and comfort cannot coexist is how I've heard that said.
I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Oh. Well, I'm glad that you're here,
Yes,
and I'm
absolutely.
glad that hopefully you don't feel as anxious now that we're rolling here.
All
But
my cousins. So.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And I definitely get you about the not coming to family parties because sometimes my social battery is like depleted and it's like I'm sorry but I just can't. It's a lot of energy, you know, and it's like it's overwhelming because we are a giant family and no, not to knock, you know, everybody, you know, but I can't, like, I just can't, you know, and then also I get the excuse because I live in another state, but
one of the excuses I can't use.
yeah, but as of late, it's like, you know what? I'm cool just hanging out in my own house, like just chilling with my dogs, like, and my husband, and I'm okay, you know? Like, yeah, sometimes when I see pictures and videos and stuff, I'm like, oh, but I'm like, that's okay because I just know there I'm not gonna feel like 100%, you know? But
And
yeah.
I think personally, I know I'm going to end up drinking and making a fool of myself. And so to deal with the anxiety.
Yeah. Nope, I get that too. Yep.
And we'll lead to that. We'll talk about that in the machismo conversation.
Okay.
Definitely.
What about y'all? Let's hear your challenges.
I'll go last because mine's a good one.
I don't have like a big challenge. I was just trying to get all my work done before vacation. I was a little bit anxious about this trip because it's a different kind of trip than we normally take. Normally we go on cruises, and this is like a state to state kind of thing. And it's a lot of unknown. So I had therapy on Monday and I was just like, I'm really anxious. And she was like, okay, well, you have tools that you can use. And so I was like, oh, that's true. Like I have, like we've done a lot of breath work and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, I can use these things and it'll help me because I'm a very anxious traveler. Like even the airport, like I'm like, oh no, what if I show up to the wrong thing? Or what if I'm late? Or what if I don't, you know, do something wrong? And then I'm shit out of luck. So yeah, I've been dealing with that. And I just told Fernando, my husband, that I need to go repack because
oh yeah, I heard that.
because I don't like all the outfits that I pack, so I need to repack. So there's that. But yeah. So let's hear this challenge, Renee.
So it was a tough one, but I got through it. So what happened was our cousin was in town last week and he wanted to visit some family members, and one of the places where one of the family's members live is where my, what do you call it? The person that
your abuser.
My abuser.
Yeah.
Was there. I thought they were at work, so I was like, oh, it's safe to show up. And no, they were there. And I was like, uh-oh. And I was like, oh, this is too late. I'm already here. I can't run from it. So I went, and it was like a kind of an awkward time. It wasn't that long, but when it went okay. Like we spoke a little bit, and then the only thing I didn't like was on my way out, he like grabbed my stomach and was like, "Oh, you're getting a little thick," and I was like, "Of all people, you know, you shouldn't touch me, right?" Like, that's what my thought was, and I was just like, I'm out of here. Like, we're leaving anyways. I'm like, I'm not gonna make a big deal of this.
Yeah.
And then went home, and I actually feel empowered by like the whole interaction because I didn't lose my shit. Like I came home and I was just like, well, it happened. I'm gonna continue my routine, which I have. Like I've been doing a lot of walking and working out. It almost feels like it got me back on track, which is weird to say. And then also like I realized, you know what? I set boundaries with him. I need to set boundaries with other people. And I've been doing that this week. It's like, I'm not going to go out with this person because I'm going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And I told this person they want to hang out. And I was like, I'm not going to go out with you because it's going to lead to like, yeah, I'm going to feel happy for about a couple of days. And then after that, it's just going to go downhill for me. So it helped me like with my boundaries again. So
that's good.
Yeah. Honestly, Renee, I'm so happy to hear that because I find that a lot of the folks that I know, friends, family, or otherwise, being unable to set boundaries is really one of the biggest boundaries, one of the biggest roadblocks towards their growth. So to hear you be able to set your boundaries and keep to them it warms my heart, honestly.
Thank you.
It's a big deal. I think as you start healing, you start realizing that growing up, majority of us in the Latino community are not taught boundaries. You're taught the opposite. Like you're supposed to go above and beyond and basically deplete yourself for others. And like, yeah, there's things that I would do anything for some of my family, but like I'm not going to do something that's going to cost me my peace and my mental health.
Exactly.
So that's why setting boundaries is something that I feel like once you start healing, you start doing that. And then you're like, oh shit, I don't have to say hi to everybody. I don't got to go to everything. I don't, have to do this. I can say no. And no is a full sentence. And if you don't respect that, then
you don't have to explain it.
You're not, if you can't respect it, you're not worth even caring about how you feel about me anyways. So
very true. Very true. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad we got through our challenges.
Yes.
All right. Made it through another week, guys.
Hey, last week I have one, so it piled up onto this one.
I know.
Our last episode.
I'm very proud of you for getting through that because I've been put in that situation where it's like you weren't expecting it, that interaction, and then you're like, uh-oh, what do I do? Like, and like at that time I like isolated myself because we were in like a public place, but it was like, oh no, I don't, and I had just started to heal, and so it was like fresh. Shoot. So then I was like, oh no, I need to get away. But
I mean, and with those sort of situations, although it's not great having to be put through them, when you successfully like conquer them, it's just what am I trying to say? It's exposure therapy. You know what I mean? You expose yourself to be uncomfortable. You gain strength, just like with any other kind of strength.
Yeah.
You continue those things. You learn that, you know what? This thing isn't stronger than me. I can handle it.
Yep. Very well put, true, Peter. Yes. Yeah. That's so true.
Sure, you don't want to be like a full-time.
I do. I spent a lot of time, I did a job from when I was 18 to almost 30, the same job, just driving around by myself thinking. And I like to think that even though I didn't go to college and learn all of these academic things, I spent a lot of time thinking about myself, who I am as a person, and learning how I can turn all of that information into real growth to be who I really want to be.
Yeah.
Oftentimes people and this goes really deep into the machismo that we're going to talk about. You have this idea of what you're supposed to be for others.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we should really be focused on who we want to be for us.
Yes. Oh, damn. That was beautiful. Oh, shit. Damn.
I think we're taught to like self-sacrifice, sacrifice ourselves for the community, for our family. And it's like, how can you really fully help anybody else if you're not helping yourself? Like,
yeah, it's very similar in there's a strength to that, just like Frank, how he talks a lot about having his physical strength and his health so that he can be there for his family. He doesn't want to leave them out in the cold because he's not caring about his health.
Yeah.
And in the same way, we have to take care of our mental health so we don't end up debilitated and unable to not only take care of those around us, but we can victimize those around us if we don't.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Very true. Dang, Peter, you're dropping all kinds of gems over here.
Seriously.
It's a regular day with Peter. It means a lot, unfortunately. Unfortunately and unfortunately.
All right, let's get into machismo. Boo, machismo.
Boo. I like to call it the silent killer. Or it was a question mark, actually. Is it the silent killer?
We'll maybe by the end of this, we'll know.
Yes.
All right. So, do we want to get into some statistics?
Let's do it.
Okay. So this is from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of Minority Health. The death rate from suicide for Hispanic males was 4.4 times the rate of Hispanic women in 2020.
Jeez.
Crazy,
that's a lot.
That's a lot. 4 times?
4 times.
Wow. In 2020, the suicide rate for Hispanics was less than half the rate for non-Hispanic whites.
Well, I guess that's good. But still not good enough.
This is more recent. In 2023, Hispanic adults were 60% less likely to have received mental health treatment than non-Hispanic white adults.
Damn.
Let's see.
We don't like to get the help.
I'm just going to go over the stats and then we'll analyze them.
Yeah.
Okay. Age-adjusted death rates for suicide by sex, race, and Hispanic origin percentage. Male Hispanic, 12.3%. Hispanic female, 2.8%. Wow, that's a big difference. Hispanic males by suicide age for Hispanic males and females, 15 through 24 males, 16.6 females, ages 25 to 44-year-old males. Sorry, I'm reading this wrong.
I butchered it.
Okay.
Year-old males, yeah.
Okay, so from 25 to 44, it's 16.1% males and 4.0% for females.
Yes.
From 45 to 64 years of age, it's 12.9% for males and 4.2% for females. For 55 years and older, it's 12.3 for males and 1.0 for females. And for adolescents from ages 15 to 19, it's 11.6% for males and females is 4.1%. So it really is like 3 to 4 times more, because it seems like for the females they're all in the ranges of 4, and for males it's all 12 and 16%. Wow, that's crazy. So
I've definitely got a lot of things to say about these statistics and what I think sort of leads to a lot of this.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a little bit more.
Okay. So access to healthcare. Adults ages 18 and over who received mental health treatment in the past year, in 2023. Hispanic is 17% and non-Hispanic white is 27%. So a whole 10% difference. Yeah. Adults ages 18 and over who received mental health treatment through prescription medication in 2023 was 10.3% for Hispanic and 20.6% for non-white Hispanic.
So they believe in the medication more than we do.
Oh, yeah. And it makes sense. Like, I can tell the difference. But, there's a stigma with medicine still.
Yeah, there is. Absolutely.
Especially with immigrants and mental health and medication in general.
Yep. All right, let's get into these statistics, Peter. I know you got a lot to say.
I definitely have a lot to say. Okay. Let me go back to look at one of these ones specifically. Let's just talk about suicide in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
In regards to all of these things. One of those things that I think is maybe not covered in here as well is that idea that men are supposed to be seen as a provider. And so you go out, you work hard. And a lot of men end up killing themselves through the stress of work and not like through direct suicide. But yeah, it takes a really big toll on your body when you think, I just have to work because I'm a man and that's what I do.
Yeah. That's very
like
true.
Heart attacks. And
yeah,
strokes.
They don't take care of their health, like, because they don't take days off to go to the doctor, or they don't even go to the doctor. Or, like all these things. And it's like, you're working yourself down. Like,
yeah. And I also think, like, you might mention it soon, or might mention it too, is like the drinking and the drugs. Like, that could be indirectly suicide, right? Like, you drink so much, you get in your car, and especially like our the older generation, there's still a stigma like, you're just gonna go have a couple of drinks, you're not that far, just drive.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna take a Uber or Lyft to go that far. Like, what? Like, there's still like, I was told something recently about that. Like, I'm not gonna say who did it, but I took a Lyft, and they're like, "You're taking a Lyft?" You're like, "Why?" They're like, might drink or might get and I'm not gonna risk it. Yeah. And it was just like, I was frowned upon. So
for being responsible.
I was shamed for being responsible. Exactly.
Like, just man up. and just do it, right?
And I used to do that. When I got back from Afghanistan, I was this, I would say machismo in a way where I was womanizing and drinking and just doing shit I should like. That was coping in the machismo way, right? And it almost got me killed. I tried twice to kill myself, so
it's tough when you're raised a certain way. We all are victims to toxic masculinity in a way, whether you're a cisgendered man or a woman, whether you're trans, non-binary, everybody is a victim, although some of us are victims as well as perpetrators,
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of things that I have to say about being a perpetrator. If you don't mind, I actually have sort of like a list of things that I think are like the biggest symptoms of toxic masculinity or machismo. And then we could sort of just jump in and out between those topics if you like.
All right. Let's do it.
The first thing I mentioned was that, everyone's a victim. I do want to talk about my experience, not first and foremost, but, I'm not very masculine. I know I'm non-binary now. That's what I know my gender identity is, or rather lack of identity. I'll get into that as well later. I was raised male socially. I spent a lot of time in my childhood thinking this is the way things are. This is how you're supposed to be. And I'm not very manly, so I'm less of a person.
Oh, wow.
But masculinity as character traits, that's defined by the self. There's I'm a very big opponent of gender roles. I don't like the idea that men have to be this way and women have to be this way. It leads to things like non-acceptance of the self, which can lead to things like suicide or coping through drugs and alcohol.
Like self-hate.
Yeah. I'm lucky that I typically don't care about what people think now. I did for a long time, but I'm very much able to just be satisfied with how I feel about myself more than anything. Being I don't know, a lot of those things that men typically see as like feminine or less of, but so that's just one of the top points. But a lot of that comes from like the shaming or policing of other men's masculinity.
Yes.
Exactly what you dealt with, Renee.
Yes.
Saying someone looking at you for not wanting to drive drunk, even if you were capable of doing it, ethically it's not right, and maybe morally for you. Another big part of that idea of shaming, to avoid that shame, you're always looking for the approval of other dudes. Whether it's in your relationships or your job, the kind of car you have. Most dudes, I would say, want to be with what they consider a 10 because they want other men to view them as someone who's got the hot wife. You don't even care what her personality is like or if you've got any common interest, because look at her. She's so hot and she's mine.
That got me in trouble a lot.
We know, Renee. We know. So I only have a couple more of these, so bear with me, and then y'all can pick from them. On women, viewing women as like a conquest, an object, not somebody, like being incapable of having platonic relationships with women. Not only is that something that leads to your own inability to grow, you might miss out on a lot of good friendships. And quite frankly, I think most women who are like reasonable, have a good head on their shoulders, will see that you're incapable of being friends with women and not want to be with you. They might also be someone who's affected by toxic masculinity and they think that that's the right way to live because that's how they've been raised. But a person like that probably needs therapy, So this one I really take very seriously, and I think I'd love to talk about it a lot tonight. Being the protector. Men are often wanting to see themselves as, I protect women. Who are men typically protecting women from?
Men.
Yes. Exactly. And not being able to see the irony in that is a really big problem, And these are not fantasy men, evil men that wear, hats on their, well, some of them are, some of them have the red hats, but typically they're people who are our friends, our peers, our family. And we don't want to see the worst in the people that we know, but that's often the perpetrators, like I spoke about earlier. And we need to be able to call that out, and that's something else I'll talk about later as well. I feel like it's more of an end of conversation, how to take action, a call to action is what I call it. We talked about this, keeping emotions hidden. Man up. You don't talk about your feelings. And honestly, I would say due to toxic masculinity, a lot of women fall into this too, where they become perpetrators because they tell men, you're supposed to man up.
Yes, big time.
Right?
Like when you share with the woman and then they use it against you. It's like, what? What the hell?
Being vulnerable and having it thrown back in your face is just awful.
It is.
Okay, I've only got 3 more of these.
I love this list. Keep it going.
Keep it going.
So, fear of failure, being a provider, leading to the overworking, killing yourself through work, thinking that my dad tells me this. He always has to be making more money than his wife. I said, that's ridiculous. I would love to be able to be taken care of. You're crazy, But there's something, my dad very much falls under the machismo. He's definitely done a lot of growing. I need to be clear about that. I've watched my dad grow so much over the past 15 years, Cool. But that's how he was raised, and he still feels that way. Even if he thinks it's a noble pursuit, it's still toxic. Before we jump onto these other ones, I'm curious if y'all have anything to say about maybe anybody that that you feel maybe exemplifies some of these things, like the fear of failure, the provider thing, being the protector, anything like that. If y'all have any friends or family that you've seen these experiences with.
So I've encountered people where they're talking about household things and that being the woman's job and that being not a man's job. And it's like, but you guys both live in this house. This is both your, because with Fernando and I'm not going to lie, he came from a very particular house where my mom was a little bit more lenient on the cleaning and stuff. So his clean and my clean were 2 totally different cleans. And I was like, what? So that's been a balance of okay, let's figure out what works for us. And he's kind of relaxed because it's okay, I'm not in my childhood home anymore. It doesn't have to be done this way. But yeah, I think definitely with household stuff, even with taking the kids, I feel in some partnerships, the man gets home from work and then expects the wife to take care of him, but it's if she works too, then she has to come home and make dinner too, and she's tired too, and our household is, we split things, and where I don't, he picks up, or where he can't, he picks up. And I just feel not that because some women do like to do that, right? They like to take care of everything, and not to knock them, but some people are you even happy with this? Can you speak up about, this, because I feel a lot of us in the Latino community is men are they get served first, and it's why do they got to be served? But I think it's just in every scenario, to each their own kind of thing.
The gender role. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No. And then okay, I'll be quick with it. Gender roles is exactly what you're talking about, Candy. I've already mentioned this, big opponent to those. I believe that, let's say you mentioned women who like to do that sort of thing. That's totally fine. And there's men who like to do it too. You should only ever make decisions based on what you want, what you're comfortable with, and not because you feel that it's an obligation based on something as trivial as gender,
Yeah. Yep. I think that's...
I was about to say, what you described is what I have been transforming from. I was in the last few years where I was I have to be married, I have to have kids, I have to be a provider. And I'm you know what? I don't, why do I have to go down that role? I'm I have my 2 dogs, I'm happy. I have my disability that I collect that. I don't have to work right now.
Yeah.
So I'm do I want to get in a relationship? right?
Yeah.
Like, do I have to do that thing that everybody says I have to do
No.
because I'm a man? And sometimes I do them. I'm like, am I becoming like not a man? Like by doing this? So it does kind of like question. I do question myself, but at the same time, like, no, I'm happy. Like,
Yeah.
I am very happy with this life I'm living right now.
Yeah.
I'm doing this podcast. I think I'm helping people, right?
You are.
I've become way more empathetic than I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And that's something like I learned. It's a skill to be empathetic. Some people are born with it, right? Some people are born with it, but like empathy is such like a big thing to me now where I'm like, you know what? If that's not a man, then I don't want to be a man. Like if I have to lose my empathy towards people and care about people and just live this life that is not making me happy, then why do I want to live that life?
Yeah.
And it's that toxic masculinity, the machismo that tells you to be that opposite of what makes me happy right now. So
Yeah.
yes, all the stuff you're mentioning is what I've processed and gone through in the last 2 years, I would say.
Yeah, it hasn't gone unnoticed. Watching you grow has like honestly been one of the greatest things that I've experienced personally.
Oh,
like
thank you,
I love you so much, Renee. You're one of my closest cousins.
I love
Like
you too, man.
like I love how well you get along with both of my other brothers.
Yeah.
You know, like in my eyes, you're basically like a brother.
Oh yeah, definitely. The four of us.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's so great to see all of the things that I think about. I hear you say them, and it warms my heart every time I hear it, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think you just started to heal and find out who you are yourself. Like not what you were raised to be, not what you know, I think you're just finding yourself. So why not ruin it, but why would you want to jump into something when you're still trying to figure out who you are? You know, you like having the dogs, you know, and you found a routine and things that you like to do. So why bring somebody else into the mix when you're just figuring out, you know?
Yeah.
You're still a freshman, okay? And this
healing
and this healing process,
journey,
okay?
yes.
Yeah, it's definitely society that tells you to do that. But
Yeah.
you know what? There's no book on life, but there is
No.
a book. There is a book of Renee though, and you need to follow that book.
love that.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times you feel like you have to do things like you were saying because of societal, you know, norms. And it's like with us, we decided not to have kids, you know? And honestly, I know I said this before, but I don't think our relationship has ever been as good as it is now that we've made that decision, because it's like, shoot, we can go and travel wherever we want. Like even I was like, can we go to Peru? I want to go to Machu Picchu. Like we can do that because we can get up and go now, you know? And I'm like, you know, I always thought I was going to be a mom. I always thought, you know, all these things. And I was like, but were those ever my own thoughts, or was it because I felt like that's what I had to do, you know? And so it was like a whole like mind explosion. Like, you know what?
Oh, you guys are dinks. Have you heard that expression?
Oh yeah, dinks. Dual income, no kids. Yeah.
I'm a sink.
Yeah, like
you know what's funny, Candy, about that? What you're talking about right now, about thinking, you know, that's just how you have to do it. You're a woman. You think you're just supposed to have kids.
Yeah.
Even as somebody who's socialized male, that's something that I thought I had to have kids. But I sort of know that I never really thought that was what I was going to do, because when I think, you remember George Lopez and the George Lopez show, when he would imagine when he was a kid, he would have his big old head. That's sort of how I imagined myself when I was younger, thinking about having kids. It was just a big kid body with the little, or on the Rugrats, they did this too. They still had their baby heads on these adult bodies. That's how I imagined it. I should have known I never wanted kids.
That's funny.
That's
My
hilarious.
God. Chucky and Tommy, how cute.
They got sponsorbilities now, you know?
Yeah, but that's something that I like struggle with. Like, is this even something that I wanted or not? Because even with like I had collected clothes for babies and books for babies, and then I was like, you know, it's in the book that I referenced, the Tías and Primas by Prisca Dorcas, she has a chapter about the motherless tia, and she talks about how she's like, you can't feel, what did it say, like your body is supposed to do this one thing and your body can't do this one thing, and you feel bad about yourself because your body is not doing the one thing that it was supposed to do, right? So how do you basically, how are you valued as a woman if you can't have a kid or you don't want to have kids? Like, but why is my value based on my uterus? Like, no. And she talks about like, like don't what is it? I can't remember what it is, but she's like, but don't be too like, don't shame women who don't have infertility problems because you don't want to make them feel bad. And I was like, yeah, like it just like mine like burst. Like I was like, oh shit, yeah, like.
Yeah, just because you're made to feel something doesn't mean you need to go out of your way to make others feel the negative feelings that you feel. An eye for an eye, right? Makes the world blind. Yeah, I've got to be compassionate, have empathy for those around you. Others might actually want kids, and that's fantastic. The human race needs kids to survive. Not for me, but
me either.
Same.
Yeah. I'm like, I love being the favorite Thea because I don't have any kids, so I spoil them all. That's fine.
Yeah, and you know what? I can tell that you're very invested in kids and child development despite not wanting to be. And like I myself, I actually consume like a lot of on Instagram, a lot of content about child development. I was raised Jaden Tony's son. I was there for his entire childhood. And I most importantly just want to be able to be like, even if I don't have my own kids, I want to be a safe space for other children around me. Too many people are ready to victimize children out there. And I want to be a non-judgmental, safe space that could be a good role model for them. No matter what child is in my radius, that's what I want to be.
That's exactly how I feel. Like I'm like, I always say I want to be the Thea that I didn't have. I want to be the safe space that I didn't have. And that's why I'm always open about my mental health, that I take medicine, that I go to therapy, that I do all these things. And I tell them like how when people will be like, oh, do you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend? And I'm like, do you have a person that you like? Like, do you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Like, I don't judge. Like, if you want to talk about it, if you don't want to talk about it, okay, but just know that I'm here to talk to you and I'm here to listen, and or if you just have a question, I'll answer it, because like I said, I just want to be a safe space for somebody, be what I didn't have,
And that's why I don't drink at family parties. I don't want to be seen as the drunk uncle and just
Hey guys, don't forget to tune in next week for part 2 of Peter's conversation on machismo. We decided to break it up into 2 episodes, so tune in next week for some more gem dropping. Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for joining us. If you are in need of any medical assistance, please contact your local provider. If you are having thoughts of suicide, please call the National Suicide Hotline at 988. In case of emergency, call 911. See you next week as we talk about the things we're not supposed to talk about.
Hey guys.